NextRivet is ultimately, a consultancy focused on digital experiences within physical environments. We work across the shopping center space, so retail real estate, as well as office and residential. Obviously, there's not today. There's not usually a new development in from a shopping center perspective that doesn't involve kind of those mixed use components.
Absolutely.
So CoreRivet, to your question, sorry, I just needed a few minutes to get there. CoreRivet is a strategic partnership that we've developed with CoreSight Research, hence the blending of the two names. CoreSight has gotten really known and ultimately has made their mark in kind of more the traditional research and advisory space.
Yeah.
And I will only say they're traditional from the standpoint of kind of trying to put them in a bucket for people in terms of understanding, but they do they put out literally almost daily information, market research, both for the retail industry as well as the retail real estate industry, the shopping center industry. And where, our focus as a consultancy, NextRivet's focus has always been, we do a little bit of we do some strategy work, but more around what's your specific kind of product roadmap need to be. We then get into helping you figure out what that roadmap is, prioritize what you want to do over the next X number of months or X number of years. How do you get your heads around this so that you're taking advantage of it, but you're not also overreacting? And I'll give you a couple examples. So, you obviously look at the things like the large language models, or, OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot. Now you've got DeepSeek from China. Um, those are all tools that us as end consumers can use right now, right? And I'm sure you guys are already using it like I am. Like if I need to rewrite some copy that I'm not happy with, or look up information that I might have previously looked on Google for, I might want to prompt it and look in a different way on the Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Those are things that are already starting to kind of get into our daily lives. And I think it was recently I sat down with my mom and showed her Chat GPT, and she was kind of blown away. And I was like, okay, this is we're definitely at one of those moments in time, right? Like it was
Yeah.
the internet. Then maybe you could say it was Wi-Fi, because suddenly you could take your laptop anywhere, and then it was then having the power of something like the iPhone, right? So we're in this very kind of, I think, moment in time when everybody looks back at the history of tech. We're certainly at one of those benchmarks. But for our clients, so I think we have, certainly the marketing teams and some of our clients who are looking at or using ChatGPT or some of that LLM stuff. But the really interesting stuff, I think, comes into play where, you're starting to look at video analytics, you're starting to look at building management systems, all these things that benefit from AI. But before we get there, we have to help people understand that AI isn't this like standalone thing. And I think this is where it helps
Yeah.
to demystify what AI is, right? I think it's AI, but it also goes to broader just technology strategies,
Yeah.
which is um, it is important to start to educate one. You need to kind of take the time to educate yourself. To You need to understand that and this isn't trying to be self-serving for us, but like most of you probably don't have all the expertise you need in house. So whether that's outsourcing it to folks like us, or looking at different job function and capabilities internally, there probably needs to be a bit of a shift in terms of the mix of your staff, or the way in which you work. You can't just I get it can't be business as usual from your
No.
current staff. But three is, and this is what we tell all of our clients, which is you don't need, like, the important thing is to get started, right? You don't need to have a 3-year plan out of the gate. Like, get started. I think a lot of it comes from the top. I think the statement you said, yes, that in general. I mean, look, I think human nature, right? We're all resistant to change. I've to date myself, I worked for CNET in the dot-com boom, and
Yeah.
we were a an internet property focused on computer technology. And so, but yet I remember, middle of the dot-com boom, the IT department decided to change the email client from I can't even remember from what to what. But at the end of the day, the I mean, it's still just emailed, right? It may
Yeah.
things were in maybe different places, but in the end of the day, I could still get an email. I could still send an email. Um, and there was massive uproar internally at a tech company, right? So
Oh
fast
man.
forward to where we are now. We're asking people who have, let's I think there is some information overload and exhaustion, and that's too why I think you have to like. I think where a lot of these companies in real estate and other traditional industries are kind of having this come, lack of a better term, like this come to Jesus moment, which is it's not just having staff and expertise who can maybe better understand and implement some of these things. It's a mindset change, right? Some of these
Yeah,
traditional
yeah,
industries, they've got people who've worked there for 20, 30 years, and that's not a lot of times that's great from a an employee retention perspective and loyalty, and they really understand the business. But that can start to, like, if somebody's used to clocking in at 9 and clocking out at 5, and I kind of robotically go through my day and I know my
yeah,
stuff and I like the consistency. It's scary. I mean, we have a client right now, we were on the phone yesterday, and we had proposed a couple of different systems for different things they're trying to accomplish. One of which was such a slam dunk in terms of the way they were doing things today, on literally on some things on paper, to using a very simple digital system that everybody uses today. I'm trying to be vague only so I don't out them. Find My Car is functionality that we're asked
yeah,
about all the time, and putting that
yeah,
in place. So that's another component of that. But that was a kind of a, how do you kind of take something as mundane as parking and then add a digital layer to it that actually makes it a much more interesting and exciting, and then layer onto that in certain centers. We had Westfield had centers in Los Angeles, where you had VIPs, movie stars and other folks who were going to shop, but they didn't necessarily want to be out in the general public. And so everything from spaces they could reserve ahead of time um, to private changing rooms for them and their family that was tied to kind of being able to shop digitally while they're sitting there. All these different things, right? So there's
yeah,
some really cool things on the consumer side. But where I get excited, and I think I mentioned this before, on the AI side, are some of the kind of the business to business aspects, things like, again, these building management systems or video analytics, understanding not just the number of people coming to your center, but really where are they actually going, changing the whole leasing conversation from, well, I didn't get enough traffic, to, well, we saw, X amount of people in the common area, 10% of those converted into your store. So we're still giving you traffic, but your sales aren't matching that traffic, or at least not what they were in the past. So how do we change